Put your faith in the light.
Hello guys, welcome to another one of my videos. This is Lightblade, and well guys, in this one I'm going to be doing more PTR testing for 10.2. This time we're going into a Darkheart Thicket plus 22. No affixes, just for the sake of testing. But this time I'm going to show you guys the talent build that I'm going to be using for this run, It's something just I cooked out the top of my head, I'm also going to be talking about special utility that you can take for this place, because we have some nice things we can do as Red Paladins to get rid of nasty stuff in this place. First of all, let's talk about the general talent tree. We'll always take cleanse toxins. There's a lot of things that you can help with, especially at the start of the dungeon with this, because there's some druids that turn into spiders and put a nasty debuff on people. You can remove it with this. There's the dryad poison, and in certain places there's also poison that some bats apply at the end of the dungeon. So yeah, cleanse toxins is really useful here. A small change I made: no vengeful rad, because this is from the old tier set, so we're going to swap that point into divine purpose. I think it goes a bit better with the new tier set that we have. On the Retribution Paladin side, instead of taking Lights of Justice, I'm going to take Swift Justice. This is because I'm using a Templar Strike build. This makes it so my Templar Strike virtually has no cooldown, and I get cooldown reduction for my Judgment. And Judgment procs our tier set, so that means more damage. I think it's better than Lights of Justice, because we already proc our Blade of Justice so often with the amount of haste we have. Another thing I'm taking is, I'm taking this experimental change, Instead of Divine Wrath, I'm going to be using Hyler's Judgment. I've been testing around, and it seems the Judgment debuff does affect the echoed Divine Storms or Templar's Verdicts from our tier set, but only if the Judgment is still on the target. So if you don't take Hyler's Judgment, your main Divine Storm or Templar's Verdict is going to consume the Judgment debuff, and when the echo of that spender hits, is no longer going to get the benefit of the Judgment. But if you use Hyler's Judgment, your first Divine Storm consumes one charge, and the second charge is still on the target, and your echoed Divine Storms or Templar's Verdicts from your tier set are going to get the benefit of Judgment. But it's kind of experimental. I've been testing. I'm almost 99% sure it works like this. I think the only thing that doesn't affect our tier set is Blessing of Dawn, of Dusk and Dawn and Seal of Order, because, the first Divine Storm that hits the targets consumes the buff, so it makes sense that the second, like the Echo, doesn't get the Blessing of Dawn buff. Okay, another small change I did here is, instead of Vanguard's Momentum, and taking Sanctify, because, well, that was from the old tier set, and that synergy, so it's just better to get a bit more Consecration damage. And well guys, I'm going to do this in the format you seem to enjoy a lot, where I show the full run and do commentary on what's happening, with small tips and tricks that you can apply to your runs. With that being said, let's start with the dungeon. Okay guys, we're starting here this Darkheart Thicket. Darkheart Thicket, I think, is going to be one of the easiest dungeons to complete next season. It's pretty simple. There's not many things that you have to worry about in this place. Well, this first pull is a bit hard in Fortified, especially because of those cats. They can jump on the same person and just insta-give them, There's also those owls that they have a cast that disorients your tank, and well, when the tank's disoriented, he doesn't have aggro, so just try to take care of that. Also, the spider here puts that big green circle on people. You can remove it with your cleanse, with Paladin cleanse removal. The tank here pulled everything with the bear, There's some things that it's probably going to be a normal pull, because it's efficient. Because doing the bear by itself is kind of like non-efficient. The thing has too much health, so you want to like do this pull with a bunch of other targets. But there's a lot of stuff happening there. There's the cats, there's the spider, the owls, and the bear puts, when it screams, it puts a debuff on you. You can see it there. I have 2 debuffs there. If that thing reaches to 3 on, let's say, at a Fortified, you probably are going to get one shot, or going to use like heavy damage reduction cooldowns. This next pull, these hippogriffs, they do a charge that in Fortified keys might kill you. It's being very dangerous to be in front of those hippogriffs, so always look where they're watching. The casters do this Starfall thingy, just dodge the swirlies or kick it, it depends on you. The Despair cast puts a debuff on your tank that reduces the healing done to them, It's like old necrotic or something like that. You saw that green circle? That's one thing the spider druids put on you. When those druids transform into spiders, they put a debuff on some people. You can remove it with cleanse. When you remove it, it doesn't do anything, but if you don't, in that circle, it's going to do explosion of damage, and it's really high. In Fortified keys, people are probably going to die if you don't remove it. So I was thinking to do the skip that we used to do in Legion. But the tank, I don't think he knew much, or was kind of new to the content, You can't blame him. Not everyone played Legion. So we're gonna do the skip with the rogue. We have Shroud, And sadly, I couldn't like pre-horse, so I'm very slow here. I think I'm gonna pull something, and we're just gonna have to like deal with it, you know. There's more of those druids here. There's caster druids, there's cat druids, there's also spider druids here, so watch out for green circles, watch out for jumps, you know, especially if you're range. Those cats hate range people, so if you're range, just be aware if you get jumped on, you know, just top yourself up, use small defensive cooldowns and stuff to keep yourself alive. Okay, we're just gonna pump it here. We're just gonna do a rotation. I'm still warming up to this rotation. Like muscle memory is something really hard to to build, you know, with new cheer sets and stuff. Anyways, we're doing the rotation fine, I think. Just kill everything, you know, AoE it down, mow it down. Retribution Paladin AoE is really good, so that's a really nice thing to do. I really like Legion era dungeons and like BFA-ish era because they have like big trash pulls. You can do like big stuff and do damage, you know. And not many mobs have like very annoying casts. Like there's like one or two things you have to look at of these mobs, you know. The spider mobs, dispel the thing. These caster mobs, you can even let the Starfall cast, you know. It doesn't do anything. You just dodge the swirlies. Like I said, these spiders are kind of deadly if they put the poison and no one dispels it. I'm gonna leave one of the poisons here go, I think, so it just does its damage. So we can see how the explosion is. Yeah, it's on the rogue. My thing is on cooldown for 3 seconds, and you're gonna see his health drop, you know. He's 60. It didn't do too much to him. I think he pressed the button. But still, on a fortified key, that's going to be pretty deadly, you know. Okay, we gotta rest the guy who died here. I think the mage died, yeah. No, okay, now next pull. Next pull is extremely dangerous on Fortify. I remember this was a dreadful pull in Legion. Normally you try to skip this, you know, you did a death skip on this part in Legion because these two bears were really hard to play with. Each one leaves a debuff, and if it stacks, like I said, up to 3 stacks, you probably need to use a strong defensive. You get more stacks of that, you're probably dead without an immunity. Depending on how Blizzard is going to tune this, this pull is going to be horrible on fortified weeks or pretty chill, you know, depends on how strong that DL is. We have two stacks at the moment. Whenever they do the next one, I'm going to just use a small defensive or something to survive, you know, because we're gonna get the 2 screams at the same time, those maddening roars, you know. Yeah, that hurts, you know. We're red pallies, we can take it because we have a ton of like built-in avoidance in our kit. But you saw the whole group is like almost dying, so yeah, this is a really dangerous pull. We have 4 stacks of the maddening roar. If one more goes off, I think I have to bubble because 5 stacks of that scream will probably kill us. Anyway, next we go to the first boss here. This is a pretty simple boss, can be annoying. The mechanics are really simple. Like Legion boss mechanics are not hard. For example, he does the jump. He's going to jump to someone, he's going to leave a dot. If that person doesn't get healed up over 90%, the dot keeps ticking and it's stronger, you know, similar to Grievous or something. You never want to be too close to this boss or like next to him, you know. Try to be at max melee range because he transforms into a bear and knocks everybody around him, you know. He knocks you even if you're behind him when he transforms. And he also does a charge forward that does a ton of damage. So you don't want to be in front of him, you don't want to be too close behind him. Just be max melee range when you fight this guy. He's going to do those little shot things like they're on the ground, they put like red stuff. Just try to AoE them down as better as you can, you know, just get rid of them so you don't lose too much ground to move on, you know. So yeah, as you see, try to always be max melee range of this guy so you don't get like knocked by the bear form. The jump is normally going to go to, I think, to the farthest away range player. So if you have 2 range players, you can like take turns in taking the jump, you know. On tyrannical keys it's going to hurt a lot, so maybe like first the healer takes a hit, then the next range player, and so on and so forth, you know. Maybe some communication is needed on those high keys. Okay, after that the fight is super simple. Just kill the boss, don't kill the little shot thingy so you don't lose ground. We're kind of like being a bit lazy on it. I should actually be AoEing down here, you know, do a little padding, but I'm trying to just get the boss down, you know. It's 33% of his health. I wanted to kill it, so I'm kind of focusing on just single target here. I should really be AoEing, by the way. Don't get overconfident on this boss, you know. It can get hectic, you can lose a lot of ground and people start dying, you know. It's kind of disorienting when he jumps, by the way, you know. It's really fast to jump, but yeah, just the boss is almost dead now. Basically, that's all the fight. Pretty simple. Like I said, Legion bosses weren't really complicated. Mostly they relied on one-shot gimmicks and stuff like that. This boss was really tough on, I remember, tyrannical keys back then. You really needed like a strong range player or someone that could stay at range and had was a plate class. Let's say Holy Pally, Warlocks were really good, I remember. Okay, now we go to the really chill packs. You know, these druids and these plants don't do anything that can kill you if you have a pulse. They put that thing on the ground, you know, don't stand in it. It's going to do a ton of damage to you if you stand in it, but it takes so long to explode that you shouldn't get hit. The other thing that they do is the Dryad throws a spear that puts some poison on people. Doesn't seem to do it a lot of damage. You can dispel it, you know, but it doesn't really do too much. Okay, so this pack normally you used to skip. In Legion you did some parkour on those mushrooms in front of me and just skip this pack totally because it's really annoying to fight it. The Keeper here has an aura that permanently heals those little plants. You see, I'm doing AoE, but the plants aren't taking damage. So what you do here is just focus down the Keeper and then kill everything else. But it's kind of a waste of time, you know. So I think most people are going to try to skip any pack that has Keepers and pull anything else, you know, because you see, you just killed a mob and that's pretty much it, because the Dryad like runs away, so it's also annoying to play with it. It's kind of a waste of time. So yeah, people are probably going to skip these packs, but they are really easy ones. You know, the plant does the little sword on the ground, don't get hit by it. Druid throws a spear, heal it or dispel it. Either is fine. The tank is going to do a big pull here, and we're going to die, by the way. I'm going to explain why we died. I didn't talk about the mushrooms in the last pull because there wasn't many, but here we have two Keepers. We have the plants and we have Dryads, you know. So there's a lot of things compounding on itself here. You know, imagine this place with affixes on top. So here I'm kind of far away from the mushroom, but I think the tank gets hit by one and it has an AoE explosion on it, you know. So we died because someone touched a mushroom. And those mushrooms are deadly. This is a 22 without affixes, and I got one shot by the explosion of one mushroom, you know. So yeah, the way you pull this pack is you get everything together and you like pull it around this circle. If you have a class that can do immunities, you send them to clear the mushrooms, because you're gonna see here I'm gonna use bubble and I'm gonna clear some of these mushrooms when they appear. But like I said before, this is a very non-efficient pack to do, because these big Keepers are going to like make the plants immortal. So yeah, a lot of people are probably going to play the path around it and they're gonna skip these two Keepers probably. Okay, so I see that there's a bunch of mushrooms here. I'm gonna use bubble so I can clear this part, you know, so we can be chill and just do damage to the mobs, you know. And yeah, bubble works, you know, clear those mushrooms. It's easier to fight if they are not there. If you clear it with bubble, I think the explosion doesn't happen. So I was also testing if my bubble was going to kill people there. Luckily it didn't, so good to know that you can like use bubble as in Legion to clear these big mushrooms. After that, just clear the pack, you know, kill the little plants, don't step on the swirlies, and just move on. You can see Darkheart Thicket is not a really complicated dungeon, but still has its like small things that you have to take in mind. I'm thinking this is going to be one of the easiest ones to get like your 20s done next season. Mostly on Fortified. I think Tyrannical is going to be a bit harder, you know. Tyrannical on Legion bosses was always hard, so depends on how Blizzard is going to be tuning here. Our tank is going wild here. He's gonna pull everything and these plants, which is annoying because the plants don't like to move, you know, so they like burrow down and they stay still, so it's hard to like get everything together. In Legion you did actually pull everything here. These like fiend things do a cast that if it finishes, that person is going to get damaged and it's going to get feared, you know. So try to keep those kicks off, stuns, AoE stuns, anything you can, so these guys don't cast. And just mow them down, you know. It's 22, no affixes, pretty chill. Probably with affixes is going to be a bit more complicated depending on what affixes there are. But for the most part, just try to keep the dwellers like stunned and interrupted. Next boss was in Legion times really tough, especially on the tanks. They really needed like externals and a lot of extra help to survive on high tyrannical keys, because this boss hit really hard when he picked up the tank, you know. But there's some really nice paladin utility that we can do here to avoid getting ads. So this boss is going to normally summons adds, but as a paladin you can prevent this really easily without sacrificing a lot of DPS. So we're just gonna start to hit the boss as normal. Yeah, the boss does that, by the way. It's a knockback that does damage, so just the healer has to top everyone up after that. And this is the part, you know, look at those swirlies in the ground. You can use freedom and just walk over them. You don't even have to damage them. As soon as you walk over them with freedom, they are deactivated and they won't do anything for the rest of the fight. If you don't do this, the boss will do an uproot cast and a bunch of little plants will appear. And those plants on top of the boss are going to hurt the tank a lot. You saw there, that crushing grip almost nuked the warrior down. So imagine that plus little plants hitting him, it's going to be a mess, you know. So your freedom should be up for every single one of these like swirly casts, you know, so you can always use it to get rid of them. I actually wanted to leave one up so you guys see when the plants spawn, you know, but it didn't really happen. The boss died before I could do it, so we're just gonna continue the fight. The tank like picks up the tank, does the crushing grip, and then throws it to someone. Normally it's a range play, so I'm gonna use my freedom here and walk over all these things so they disappear and we don't have to deal with the little adds, you know. And just continue doing our rotation as normally, you know. Like I said before, still warming up to using Judgment instead of like well, in single target it doesn't matter, you can use Hammer of Wrath or Judgment, it's fine, you know. On AoE sometimes I still throw a Hammer of Wrath, you know, it's kind of worthless. Okay, here is where I try to like leave one of these little things like up, so the tank, so the boss like makes a little plant or something, but he doesn't do the uproot cast, you know, he just dies. So there's strangly roots back there, but it doesn't do anything. Oh yeah, there's a breath cast, you know. A lot of these like 3 bosses have like, or 3 adds, 3 bosses have like a breath. This one is no different, he has a breath, so don't be in front of the boss, try to be always behind him. Okay, here the tank is going to the right side, and I'm like, I've never done that side. I don't do that side. You never did that side of Legion. It's a no-go. It's a very dangerous place because those adds spawn more adds. You know, the satyrs spawn more satyrs, and it's a very annoying place to play, you know. But this side is a bit more easier. I say easier, but we do die in this part eventually. You're gonna see why. I pop all my cooldowns here and nuke the little blobbies where I think I shouldn't, you know. I should have just hit them with normal abilities, but you know, a little padding. Here you don't want to touch the little eggs because the eggs spawn these little wildlings. They don't do much damage, you know, but they're annoying. They're extra mobs, you know, they're annoying. The big thing is this red guy. So red guy is going to do 2 things. He's going to drop those like drops, like blobs that drop on people. They do a lot of damage and knock you back, so they can knock you back to eggs and you get more whelps. And they do a frontal dash, you know, that also does damage. So you see, someone got hit by the blob and instantly died. The frontal is also probably going to be instant death and fortified keys, or it's going to be close to death and then you go to the eggs and stuff like spawn sponge, like here, you know. Here like stuff is just going AWire. And yeah, I think the tank dies for whatever reason here. I think he gets hit by 2 blobs or something. I don't know how he dies really. But whenever you kill one of these red guys, they spawn these little elemental things. And these little elemental things just do blood bolts. And they also do reconstruction cast. When they finish that reconstruction cast, they become one of the big red dudes, you know. So you never want that to happen. Okay, I don't know where the tank died, by the way. I lost him. Anyways, I think I can finish this up by myself, you know. These little red thingies that the healer's still alive. I could have bubbled here. I think I don't. Oh yeah, we got one of the big red guys. I think I should have bubbled here and finished. But that insta give me, you know, there was one hit, literally one out attack, and I was dead. So sadly, the thing just went from bad to worse because now we have 3 big red elementals that are there we have to deal with, you know. So sometimes I think it's better to just wipe before you kill an elemental so the little red spawns don't spawn like big ones after they finish their cast. I could have finished that pack, but I was taken by surprise by the insta death, you know. Anyways, we go back, we try again, you know. We have 12 minutes, we can finish this key and no problem. red elementals are, they look simple, you know, they only have 2 abilities basically, just dash forward and drop the blob, but it's hard to see red on red. It's yeah, the red blobs, you gotta look at them like when they're falling, because they do have a effect on the ground that Blizzard added. That effect didn't exist in Legion, you know, you only had to watch it where the drop was falling from and do the thing. Here the tank says we're gonna use cloak, you know, I mean shroud. I say I'm gonna go for the safe route and use my invis spot, so if the shroud doesn't go well, I can like wait them on the other side and like try to res them there, you know. But I think something happens and they pull, so I'm just waiting here, and the priest pulls me back, you know. I'm thinking they're gonna die, but they say okay, let's fight it, and he almost pulls me into one of those blobs, you know. Yeah, it's really hard to see red on red, you know, the blobs falling, so maybe Blizzard should change the color of the thing. It's really hard to see red on red. Anyways, we fight the 3 blobs. These are not the original elementals, I mean, these are like the ones that spawn, so these ones are not going to spawn like those little 4 blob elementals that can do the same thing. So after we kill this, there's no more ads, just go to boss. Those frontals, man, people have to dodge frontals, they're pretty deadly. If it was fortified, people would be insta-dead. I know it's hard to see the blobs, you know, hard to see sometimes where these guys are facing, but gotta dodge the things. Anyways, we managed to kill them, and we're going to go to the next boss, which I think it's a pretty simple boss, but you gotta understand one key mechanic from the winds. Yeah, the dragon boss has one mechanic that is really deadly, and it's the winds. The winds can lead to a wipe because the winds can push you to the eggs, then you summon a bunch of those little weblings, your tank gets overwhelmed, and then everyone dies. Okay, so Desert the Dragon has 3 mechanics that are core. First one is the breath that you can see there, and don't ever be in front of him, and better to be like behind him as a melee. You also don't get any parries, you know. There's still parries in the game, by the way. It's a very small chance, but if you're hitting a boss from the front, you can get parried. So that's the second mechanic, is the winds, by the way. The winds are weaker if you're close to the boss. If you're far away from the boss, the winds are going to be really strong, and you're not going to be able to fight against them, or you're going to need like a really heavy speed up or displacement ability. Here I'm just trying to res people. I res the healer. We have 15 seconds on B-res, so I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna res the other DPS. You see, I'm just chilling here. You know, the downdraft doesn't do anything with me, to me, if I'm close to the boss, but the other people are like running for their lives, you know. The next mechanic is the earth-shattering roar that puts that like thing that you see on the left side, stuff that's falling from the roof, does a lot of damage if you stay on that thing, and does initial fall damage as well. So here I res the rogue, hopefully takes the res. If you're exactly on the circle of the boss, you should be able to just walk towards him, you know, and not be moved. If you're on top of the boss, you don't even have to move, you can just chill there. It doesn't actually knock you. The strength of the knock is really weak when you're close to the boss. Luckily we didn't have any of the falling debris on us, so we can just stand inside the box, the hitbox of the boss, and just hit him. Luckily we did have 2 B-reses, so we could get like the 2 people that died to the frontal breath. I'm thinking this is one of the bosses that's going to cause a lot of wipes on people, you know. It's a pretty simple one, but it's pretty deadly, by the way. I remember in Legion a lot of these things were kind of one-shot mechanics. And yeah, that's Deseret. Now we're going to go to the last hallway of the dungeon, and then to Zabius. So there's, I think, one thing that they added to these mobs. There's like a purple circle they added that I don't remember existed in Legion. You know, it's one explosion of damage or something like that. Other than that, these mobs are demons. So first off, Wake of Ashes is really good here. We can stun them all, you know, for a long time and do big damage. The satyrs cast like shadow bolts, the little demons cast that dread inferno that you have to kick. It's pretty deadly if it goes on someone. You saw there it exploded on the mage. It did almost all his health pool. It hit me. Now I have to be defensive here. I use 2 defensives there. Take no damage. This is the purple thing that I'm talking about. I don't remember seeing this in Legion, but it seems to do damage, pulsing damage to anyone that's close to you. So just try to not be close to anyone. And yeah, that's pretty simple. 2 packs, you know, just a bunch of casters. So here we also have a death of the tank, and this is because these bats apply a poison debuff, you know. And this poison debuff is each bat can apply it, you know. So I do there, and I dispel him the first 2 ones, and then he gets applied more, and when my thing is on cooldown. So here I'm trying to dispel him, and he just dies, you know. I was too slow on the dispel, but we can actually finish this pack, you know. It's just 1 bat left. You just have to kill it. So being on top of your dispels here is really, really good, you know. I wasn't expecting him to just fall down, you know, with 2 debuffs, but yeah, he did. So those debuffs are pretty nasty. Still have a lot of time to finish this dungeon. Just gotta do the last pack here. Last pack is a combination of imps, those satyrs, and there's one of the satyrs that creates a clone of himself, and that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, we're not gonna play this pack. Yeah, as the last time, I'm going to use my imp spot here. If for whatever reason the shroud doesn't go well, I can just res people, if they die here, you know. Just in case, I'm going to go forward and gonna wait them there to res if something bad happens. They're gonna wait for the shroud, and we're gonna go fight Sabius. So Sabius in Legion was one of those bosses that simple in practice, but it did overwhelming damage, especially when you made him drop to 50%. He did a big explosion that you needed like really heavy defensives or an immunity to survive. I think Blizzard toned this boss down a lot because the damage it did was nothing when it reached 50%. So another of the mechanics that he has is he puts that circle on someone. When you have the circle, you have to move close to someone or you'll be pacified. So you're silenced and you can't out attack. And when you have the red like viney thing under you, that thing, the red, you don't touch anyone, because if you touch someone, you get feared. I got the circle. I try to find someone so I don't get silenced. And yeah, that's basically the fight, you know. If you get the circle, move with people, you get the binds, move away from people. He also does this feed on the weak. It's a channel that does heavy damage on someone, so the healer has to like take care of that person. You can also help with Blessing of Sacrifice and all those things. Now he's reaching 50%, he's going to do his big explosion. I think Blizzard nerfed a lot the damage on this thing, because I'm just going to use 20% damage reduction, you know. I'm gonna see the damage. It did nothing, yeah. It did like a third of my bar of health, you know. But I think that's because I'm a red paladin. We have a massive amount of avoidance, you know. I think everyone else took a big hit. I don't know if they were using defensive or anything, but still. In Legion, that was brutal, you know, that you really needed like a super heavy defensive or an immunity. After that, we get to the second phase where he starts dropping like those swirlies on the ground. By the way, those swirlies, if they hit Savius, he gets a damage buff. So the tank has to move him away from those swirlies as much as he can, so he doesn't get the damage buff. He's gonna continue doing his abilities from phase 1, the circle, the binding thing, the feed on the weak, the channel damage thing. And yeah, that's basically Savius. If you can survive the 50% hit, you should be fine, because the other mechanics are very intuitive. And there it is, 22 Darkheart Thicket. So, for whatever reason, the damage recounts on Legion dungeons, and some dungeons are actually not showing at the end, you know, so gotta use the manual thing and just to show you guys there how the damage was. So that was the overall, and we can also take a look on a bit more detailed how the representation of each percentage of damage was. And well guys, this is the damage distribution. So you can see the Bindstorm on top, and Final Verdict. This is something that was surprising to see, you know. Final Verdict normally is not on the top on most of our dungeons, because, well, you know, a single target is not incredible, you know, but I guess Darkheart Thicket does have a bunch of bosses and not like heavy density of trash here. We got Blade of Justice, Judgment, Wake of Ashes. Expurgation is a bit lower than Blade of Justice. This is because mostly on a lot of these packs are just melting down, so Expurgation is not getting the full value of damage that it could, you know. When I did this test on target dummies, Expurgation was like neck on neck with Blade of Justice, but that's because where the target dummies don't die, so they always take the Expurgation damage. But in real situations, Expurgation does take a kind of a hit, you know, from like simulation situations to real applicated situations. Wrathful Sanction, though, is doing a ton of damage. It's doing so much more than Syrian Light, and Syrian Light is a final point talent, you know. So yeah, that's a pretty decent tier set we're working with. And well, guys, that's Darkheart Thicket 22. And well, guys, that's going to be the end of the video. I'm really happy that they brought dungeons like Darkheart Thicket. It's one of my favorite dungeons from the Legion era, you know. And I heard a lot of people that hate this place. I personally really enjoyed it, but I think I'm a bit biased because I did this place like more than 400 times, I think, in Legion back then, because Titan Forging used to exist. So you always got something for your runs, you know. You always had that expectation of a really high item little piece of loot from the chest at the end of the run. There was also a really powerful relic that you could get back then in Legion from this place. So yeah, I'm a bit biased, so I really enjoy this place. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the content, and if you did, subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the videos. Thanks for watching, everyone.